of the subterranean chamber or any of the other rooms inside the pyramid.
If you look at the construction of the pyramid, they actually built the first chamber and they left it unfinished. And they began to do the second chamber and they left it unfinished. And the chamber that actually finished is the third one.
Zahi Hawass is the keeper of the Great Pyramid through his official post and by conviction. For a long time, he has been the Egyptian Minister of Antiquities and the main feature of many television programs about the mysteries of ancient Egypt. Dr. Hawass organized many excavations to prove the only theory he holds credible, that all that was built in Egypt was built by Egyptians. He does not support any other theories that do not comply with these views. He is especially averse to stories of Atlantis and its inhabitants. People from all walks of life have often suggested that the Great Pyramid was built by descendants or representatives of a lost ancient civilization. The purpose of the pyramid's construction has been the subject of debate among them over the course of history, and the proposed theories cover a wide range of possibilities. One such theory suggests that the Great Pyramid is a replica of the main temple of Atlantis. Sounds improbable, but if we try to imagine that the structures of the Giza Plateau were built not 2,500 years BC, but much earlier, then we begin to wonder, who built them? And that's when Atlantis and the echo of perished civilization come to mind. But what made these troublemakers disturb the flow of traditional Egyptology by suggesting that the pyramid and the Sphinx could be 10,000 years old, or maybe even older? One such suggestion was born in the 1980s. One fine day, the troublemaker and rogue Egyptologist John West approached Professor Robert Schoch, the geologist from Boston University, and asked him to identify the origin of erosion marks that can be clearly visible on the body of the Great Sphinx of Egypt. The stunned Robert Schoch, without hesitation, replied that these were traces of heavy rainfall. That day, the world acquired another unorthodox Egyptologist. And John West, after years of searching, finally found a geologist willing to investigate the origins of erosion on the body of this most famous of world monuments, the Great Sphinx of Egypt.
So I'm in the Sphinx enclosure. The Sphinx is over here, and this is the wall of the Sphinx enclosure. And here we see this rounded rolling weather that could only be caused, I believe, by rain and water runoff. And the thing is that classical Egyptologists have thought that the Sphinx is about 2500 BC, but since 2500 BC, we're in the Sahara Desert. We're on the edge of the Sahara Desert. It's been incredibly dry, and you just can't get this type of weathering and erosion without a lot of rain, without a lot of water.
Robert Schoch is certain that the body of the Sphinx has erosion caused by rainfall. It seems the statue has been repaired several times. First repairs were made when, according to mainstream Egyptology, the Sphinx had just been carved out of the rock. But why would something that has just been built need to be repaired? The only point unorthodox and traditional Egyptologists agree on is that the modern face of the Sphinx was crafted during the New Kingdom. But that doesn't really change much. Actually, some suggestions about the age of the Sphinx are much bolder than just 5,000 years BC.
The Sphinx was built many, many thousands of years before dynastic Egypt began, about 3200 BC. It means that if substantiated by the scientific community, the Great Sphinx dates from a time when there's not supposed to have been any civilization to speak of. So if it's correct, it in and of itself necessitates a total rewrite of everything that we think about human history and about the evolution of human civilization.
Seismological research conducted by Robert Schoch and John West revealed another interesting detail. Judging by the type of erosion, the head, the front of the body, and the paws were carved out first. Initially, the Sphinx looked as if he was protruding out of the bedrock.
Is when they carved the body of the Sphinx, they carved